Howdy, I'm Henry. I'm a ACS certified cheese professional here with my coworker Brandon.
Yeah, guys, my name is Brandon Woodward. I'm a cheesemonger here in the retail shop in Hyde Park in Austin, Texas. We have a really awesome opportunity to share 4 new cheeses with you. The ones that we're sending out with our July ACC box. We're going to kind of taste them, take a closer look at them, talk about them a little bit, and see what we can get out of this experience.
Absolutely. And this month we are looking at cave dwellers. So all of these guys are going to be cave-aged cheeses, which is just a really fantastic way of finishing off the final steps in the cheese-making process, which we call affinage, which basically is just aging. So all of these have been aged in some sort of cave. Now, with the term cheese cave, you can get a little bit more literal, as we'll see with some of these, or they can be sort of more man-made cellars, but all of them are intended to promote diversity in the microflora and fauna that will then attach and provide all the rich and complex flavors of these guys.
Yeah, something I love about cave-aged cheeses is, they really have really nice minerality and like this brightness and brininess sometimes, and that natural rind that you get on the outside of these, when you are comfortable enough taking a bite of it, it's really, really interesting, and the kind of cave-aged flavor is a really great component of these cheeses.
Absolutely, which I think brings us to our first one, the Casada de Buffalo. Let's try it out, and then we'll talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, sounds good.
Very light, very delicate.
Yeah, really nice and spreadable. Definitely has a good bit of milk fat. One of the main characteristics of water buffalo milk and the cheeses that it's made from is its creaminess. Out of all 4 milk type varieties, the water buffalo milk is going to be much higher than any of the other ones, so you get really nice creaminess.
Absolutely, yeah, about twice the milk fat content of cow's milk, so it is rich.
Yeah.
This one is coming out of the Grisi Brothers Quattro Portoni up in around Bergamo, Italy.
Yeah, up in the northern, kind of deeper end, off the coast. It's so rich, in a lot of ways. A little can go a long way with this one, but paired with a little bit of jam, something, this type of cheese are just like begs for a sweet jam or jelly to pair with it.
Yeah, and I also just love how gorgeous this one is. I mean, this piece right here we've got is a pretty just bright, classic, bloomy rind. But we do have some going out that have this really gorgeous, like yellow highlighter mold, and a couple of other sort of varieties you'll see. And like we said, all of that is coming from that cave aging, showing off what all's going on down in the caves there.
Yeah, the environment like lends itself to having a lot of different impacts on the final product. Like what type of molds are present in that cave. Sometimes those molds develop over decades.
These folks are 4th generation cheesemakers, so they've got quite the pedigree behind them when it comes to making beautiful cheeses like this one.
Yeah.
But moving on from there, let's try out a little bit of the Sleeping Beauty here, coming out of Cascadia Creamery up in Washington. I believe this is your first time trying this one, right?
Yeah. The thing that really I love is like that nice, like briny, kind of minerally limestone flavor on the rind, and that brings to it. It's really, really adds a ton of complexity.
Yeah, and there's this great sharpness to this one. A little bit of almost like a slight umami, meaty character.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that is gorgeous. Kind of brothy.
Yeah.
Cascadia Creamery is a really lovely producer coming out of Washington, as I said, but really focusing in on quality and sustainability. They are a fully organic producer, which in cheese is a really hard thing to do, because you've got to just make sure every step in the line is certified organic, for you to be, right?
A ton of hoops to jump through.
A ton of hoops to jump through. But they not only do that, they also use purely A2 milk, which is a certain certification which kind of is thought to be a little bit easier to digest typically. And, we do have a lot of folks coming in asking for it. And unfortunately, it's typically pretty hard to find, but they make it work out.
That's awesome.
But for the theme, these guys I think are particularly interesting because they don't only age in a cave. Since they're out in Washington, they've got these lovely ancient lava tubes that they yeah, it's so cool, and lends this really lovely, just dark, earthy flavor, especially as you get to the rind.
Yeah. It's incredible
really
how
great.
much that type of environment is imparted into the rind of the cheese, and it just adds a really, really nice dimension to anything that gets to sit in there for 6, 8, 12 months,
Yeah, really gorgeous and really unique.
Yeah.
Excellent. So next up we have got the Shepsog here from Grafton Village Cheese.
This is a nice sheep and cow's milk cheese. It's got a mixture of both of those, which each different type of milk just brings a little bit of a different complexity to the cheese. This smells really nice and nutty, nice dense texture.
And this is actually a great example of this because you get this nice sharpness up front, kind of reminiscent of a cow's milk cheddar.
Yeah.
Then it fades back into more of that nuttiness, more of that sheep's milk, more of that richness, because sheep's milk is a little bit higher in milk fat than cow's milk.
Nice.
And yeah, that's really gorgeous.
Really, it's almost crumbly too. It's would be easy to take a vegetable peeler, make shavings up, put on a salad. Really tasty.
But also, I think would be just delicious with a little bit of salami or something nice and meaty, because it's got that sharpness to it. It's got that cheddary character.
Pretty substantial.
Absolutely. Grafton Village Cheese is actually a cooperative that's been around since the 1800s and has basically got a bunch of different dairies working together underneath them to come together and make great cheeses like these from their collective milk output, which is a great way of keeping it small scale while allowing you to produce larger and sort of more labor-intensive cheeses like these cheddar styles.
Yeah.
This one's aged for a little over 7 months, so for a really small dairy, that can be a pretty high taxing demand.
I've been in, I think, 2 cheese caves in my life. One was in Dublin, Texas, and it was a really nice, very tight space, and all hand built, and lots of times there's a lot of effort put into the place where we store cheeses as we're making them, and these styles kind of came out of that kind of
absolutely
idea.
Yeah, and that cooperative method is super traditional, especially in France and the Netherlands. It's something you see a lot that is less common in America. So it's really nice to see it done and done well. But from there, we'll finish off with a little bit of this La Española here.
Nice.
As you can see, just nice and crumbly and dry there.
Yeah, so this is from Go Delicious, and a really nice Texas product. They do a really nice, heavily aged cheeses, or they're a little bit more crumbly, a little bit more dense. They do a good variety of 3 or 4 different varieties, and they really know what they're good at and really do it.
Absolutely. Go Delicious as a producer is really focused on their herd, so they're very focused on their husbandry and just making sure their goats are happy and healthy and just of good stock there. They've got a blend of Nubian, La Mancha, and there's a third one that I forgot. So unfortunate there. But which plays really naturally into this style here. La Española, more of a goat's milk take on Manchego.
Yeah.
So using that sort of breed that is also native to La Mancha makes a lot of sense here, and I think produces some pretty charming results.
Yeah, really nice. A little bit saltier, a little bit more of that salinity overall still in there. Really nice, kind of rich, lots of kind of umami, savory flavors in there that
Yeah.
are really, really beautiful.
You get that goatiness, but it's also just so like meaty and so tangy.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's just got a lot of depth to it, a lot going on. Once again, because of that cave aging, bringing in that earthiness, allowing it to really develop some great flavors. And that's also a great thing about this one is you've got that lovely natural rind to it in that traditional basket weave pattern you'd get in La Mancha.
Yeah.
Which unfortunately is a lot less common nowadays.
Yeah.
Most manchegos you'll see have like a thin little plastic or not plastic, but wax rind on them, which is really efficient and works really nicely for aging, but does lose out a little bit of that complexity and depth. So there's very few producers. I think actually only one that imports to the States that still do that. So having these domestic producers making these interpretations of those traditional styles is really interesting.
And it's great that
really
we have
nice.
we have them local to us, which is really amazing. There's not a lot of cheeses that kind of like are doing what they're doing, and they do a really great job of bringing a really interesting thing to the table.
And Texas is just such a nice environment for goat's milk. We've got some really great examples that produce some really fantastic cheese, and great to show off. Go Delicious is one of those. So I think that's broadly our selection here for July. Thank y'all for stopping by, and we'll see y'all next month.
Thanks for stopping by.